Hi, today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about bank reconciliations and the most common mistakes that people make when they're performing a reconciliation. So, the idea here is not to make these mistakes. Mistake number one is recording the information on the wrong side. What I mean by the wrong side is, as we've seen, there are two sides to a bank reconciliation, the left side being the bank side and the right side being the book side, which is where we'll spend most of our time during the rest of the month recording our journal entries within our books. So mistake number one really happens where people forget to record things on the bank side that the bank doesn't know, but that the business owner does know. So that's what goes on that side, whereas on the right side with the books, we want to update the book side for things that we, the business owner, didn't know, but that the bank did know. And most of the time, the things on the right side are recorded from what we've seen on the bank statement after it's been received. So again, mistake number one really comes down to recording the information on the wrong side, and just using this guide here, you'll be able to quickly figure it out. But one of the other main ways to solve mistake number one is by asking yourself, who doesn't know about this transaction and who does know about the transaction? Or otherwise said, who knows about this transaction and who doesn't? Then record on the side without the transaction present. So if the bank knows about something and the books don't, we'll record it on the book side. If the books know something that the bank doesn't, we'll record it on the bank side of the reconciliation. Mistake number two is when you're reconciling for outstanding checks, which are checks written from our books but not cleared through the bank. You need to use the check amounts and the check numbers. And actually, you should start with the check numbers first, because check amounts may be duplicated. You could have 5, 10, 20 checks written for the same amount during the month, but the check numbers of those amounts should always be unique. So I might write check 102 for $50 and write check 103 for $50. And if I'm just going by amounts, those two checks might show up as being both recorded by the bank, or I might have one amount presented to the bank and one amount not presented. And if I don't look at the check numbers and just go by the amounts, I won't actually perform the reconciliation correctly. I might miss whichever check was not presented. So always go by the check numbers and not the check amounts. And again, the way you solve for this mistake is look at the check number first and then look at the check amount. Now, of course, that amount could be incorrect, and that leads to mistake number three. Mistake number three is assuming that the bank is always right. We generally trust the bank statement. That's what the banks are out there to do and provide us accurate transaction counts. But most of the time, that's fine, except don't always assume that the bank is right. Just like us, banks can make errors, and some of them are listed here: scanning in a check incorrectly, recording a deposit to the wrong account. Sometimes, a check gets scanned in incorrectly and that deposit goes into the wrong depositor's account. And there's other things. There's humans working at banks just like there are at any given company. And so don't always just trust what's on the bank statement. Really, to solve this mistake, make sure that the bank transactions match the expectations that your books are showing. So if they don't, you want to find out who made the mistake. It's just as possible for the bank to make a mistake as it is for the books and records of our company to have something incorrectly. Hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and these are 3 mistakes you definitely don't want to make when performing a bank reconciliation.